I'm Alicia Foster, 34 years old, and I thought I'd done everything right for my sister. I worked my way up to marketing director, bought a house in Madison, Wisconsin, so she could live rent-free after our parents died in a car crash 3 years ago. I wanted to keep her close to give her a chance to build her own life. But everything changed when I took a bad fall at work, shattering my femur and ankle. I was stuck in bed, barely able to move, relying on my sister to help with the simplest things, grabbing a glass of water, picking up my phone. She was all I had, living in the house I paid for. But 6 weeks in, something snapped. I spilled my coffee, and she exploded, screaming, "We're not your servants." Her words hit like a slap, raw and venomous, like she'd been holding it in forever. I lay there, shocked, my leg throbbing, staring at the sister I'd given everything to. The betrayal cut deeper than the pain in my bones. I couldn't take it anymore. Her resentment, her ingratitude. So, I looked her dead in the eye and gave her 5 minutes to pack up and leave. What happened next? It's a story of loyalty tested, trust shattered, and a choice that changed everything. Stick around to see how far I want to take back my life. If you've ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted, leave a comment below. Share your story with me. Hit the like button if you want to see how this unfolds. Growing up in Madison, Wisconsin, our family looked like the perfect picture. My dad, Robert Foster, was my biggest cheerleader. He'd sit with me after school, helping with math homework, telling me I could be anything: a doctor, a lawyer, even a CEO. "You've got the brains, Alicia," he'd say, his eyes bright with belief. My sister, 6 years younger, got the same encouragement. Dad would scoop her up, telling her she'd change the world one day. He saw no limits for either of us. But my mom, Patricia Foster, had a different approach. She'd compare us constantly, pitting me against my sister. "Why can't you be more like Alicia?" she'd snap when Brooke struggled with her grades. Or she'd turn to me, "Your sister's so creative. You're too serious." It stung, but I brushed it off, determined to prove myself. Those comparisons planted seeds of tension, though I didn't see it then. Dad worked as a high school teacher, Mom as a bank teller. We weren't rich, but we had a comfortable life in our modest two-story home. I'd spend evenings helping Brooke with her spelling, trying to be the big sister she could look up to. She'd giggle, her pigtails bouncing, and I'd feel like I was doing something right. But Mom's words always lingered, making Brooke feel like she was never enough. I think that's where it started, the resentment I'd only understand years later. When I was 31, everything changed. A drunk driver took both my parents in a single devastating crash. I got the call late at night, my hands shaking as I listened to the officer's voice. Brooke was 25, just starting out, working part-time at a clothing store. She was shattered, barely able to get out of bed for weeks. I stepped up, not just as her sister, but as the one who had to hold it together. I'd already built a solid career as a marketing director at a fashion company in Madison. My salary was good, 6 figures, and I wanted to give Brooke stability. So I bought a house, a 3-bedroom place in the suburbs for us to share. It cost me $100,000 as a down payment, with a mortgage I could handle. The house was modern, with enough space for Brooke to have her own room, a guest room for friends, and a cozy office for me. I told her she could live there rent-free, no strings attached, to help her get on her feet. Brooke moved in, grateful at first. She'd hug me, promising to make it up someday. I believed her. I thought we were a team, rebuilding after losing Mom and Dad. My job kept me busy, long hours, client meetings, campaign deadlines. But I made sure Brooke had everything she needed. Her retail job barely covered her bills, so I paid for utilities, groceries, even her phone plan. "You focus on finding your path," I'd tell her, echoing Dad's encouragement. She'd nod, but sometimes I caught a flicker of something in her eyes, envy maybe, or frustration. I ignored it, chalking it up to grief. Looking back, I should have paid more attention. Mom's comparisons had left scars, and Brooke was carrying them in ways I couldn't see. I thought giving her a home would bring us closer, like Dad always wanted. But those early tensions, the ones I brushed off as a kid, were simmering beneath the surface, waiting to boil over. I kept working, kept paying, kept hoping Brooke would find her way. I didn't know how wrong I was about her or how much I'd sacrificed for someone who'd turn on me when I needed her most. Everything fell apart on a Tuesday afternoon at the company office. I was rushing down the stairs to a client meeting, heels clicking, mind racing with the next campaign pitch. I don't know what happened, a loose step, a moment of distraction, but my foot slipped and I tumbled, my body slamming against the metal railing. Pain ripped through my leg like a bolt of fire. I tried to stand, but my right leg buckled and I collapsed, gasping for breath. Coworkers crowded around, their voices a frantic hum as someone called for help. At the hospital, Dr. Patricia Walsh, an orthopedic surgeon, broke the news: a fractured femur and a shattered ankle. "You're looking at 3 to 4 months of recovery," Dr. Walsh said, her tone calm but firm. "You'll be bedbound for at least 6 weeks, maybe more." My head spun, struggling to grasp the idea of being trapped in the house I'd worked so hard to buy. Back home, Brooke stepped up, or so I thought. She agreed to help, moving her things into the living room to stay close. "I've got you," Brooke said, her voice soft, but her smile strained, propping pillows under my leg. I felt a flicker of gratitude, though something in her eyes seemed off. My bedroom became my entire world, the 4 walls closing in as I adjusted to this new reality. I couldn't walk, couldn't shower without help, couldn't even grab a glass of water on my own. The pain meds dulled my senses, but I had a job to do. I set up my laptop on a tray, joining virtual meetings, answering emails, tweaking ad campaigns from bed. My boss was supportive, but I felt the pressure to keep up, to prove I wasn't falling behind. Brooke was there every day, bringing meals, shifting my position, picking up my phone when it slid off the bed. But by the second week, I noticed a change. Brooke's sighs grew heavier when I asked for help. Her movements were sharp, like she was annoyed. "Can you grab my charger?" I'd ask, and Brooke would roll her eyes before walking away. Once, when I spilled water on the sheets, Brooke snapped, "You need to be more careful." Her words weren't cruel, not yet, but they carried an edge I hadn't expected. I told myself she was stressed, balancing her retail job and taking care of me. I didn't want to seem ungrateful, not after paying for the house, the utilities, everything to keep Brooke afloat. But the tension was there, like a crack in a dam growing wider each day. I kept pushing through, diving into work to escape the pain and Brooke's attitude. Late one night, during a client call, I overheard Brooke on the phone in the next room, her voice low but sharp. "It's exhausting doing everything for her," Brooke said. My heart sank, fingers freezing on the keyboard. Was I already a burden? I tried to brush it off, thinking Brooke was just venting after a tough day. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. The sister I'd given everything to was pulling away, and I was too weak to confront it. All I could do was lie there, trapped in my own body, hoping things would get better. By the 3rd week, I noticed Brooke had changed. The small acts of care, bringing me meals, adjusting my pillows, started to feel like burdens to her. Her patience, already thin, frayed completely. When I asked for a glass of water, Brooke would huff, her lips tightening as she turned away. "I'm not your maid," she muttered once, barely loud enough for me to hear, as she set a bottle on the nightstand with a thud. I bit my tongue, not wanting to start a fight while stuck in bed, my leg throbbing under the cast, but her refusals grew bolder. One morning, I asked for my pain meds and Brooke just stared, arms crossed. "Can you reach them yourself?" she said, pointing to the bottle barely out of my grasp. I forced a weak smile, hoping to ease the tension, but inside I was reeling. How could Brooke act like this when I'd paid for the roof over her head? Late one evening, I overheard something that cut deeper than her words. I was propped up in bed, trying to focus on a work email, when Brooke's voice drifted through the wall. She was on the phone, pacing in the living room, talking to her friend Monica. "It's like I'm her servant," Brooke said, her tone sharp with frustration. "She's such a burden, always needing something." My breath caught in my throat. A burden. I'd given Brooke everything, a house, no rent, no bills. And now she was calling me that. I clutched the bed sheets, my heart pounding, trying to make sense of her resentment. She didn't know I could hear her, but those words burned into me, each one a betrayal of everything I'd done for her. The shock lingered for days, eating away at me. I started noticing more. Brooke's clipped responses, the way she'd leave my tray of food just out of reach, like she was testing me. I felt trapped, not just by my broken body, but by the growing distance between us. I kept quiet, too proud to confront her, too weak to push back. But the hurt festered, and I started questioning everything. Was Brooke always this resentful? Or had I been blind to it? I thought back to our childhood, wondering if Mom's comparisons had left deeper scars than I'd realized. But I couldn't dwell on it. Every ounce of energy went to surviving each day, managing work, and pretending everything was fine. Then Wendy, my best friend since college, came to visit. She walked into the bedroom, her warm smile fading as she took in the tension. Brooke was in the kitchen, slamming cabinets louder than necessary, and I was struggling to sit up, wincing from the effort. Wendy pulled a chair close, her eyes narrowing. "Something's off," she said quietly, glancing toward the door. She'd always been perceptive, picking up on things I tried to ignore. I hesitated, then told her about Brooke's attitude, the eye rolls, the muttering. I didn't mention the phone call. I was too ashamed to repeat those words. Wendy listened, her face serious. "You need to watch her," she warned. "She's not acting like family. Be careful, Alicia." Her words hit hard, stirring a fear I hadn't wanted to face. Brooke wasn't just stressed, she was resentful, and I was starting to wonder what she was capable of. 6 weeks after the accident, everything exploded on a Thursday morning. I was propped up in bed, balancing a mug of coffee while trying to answer a work email. My hands, still shaky from the pain meds, slipped and the mug tipped over, spilling coffee across the sheets. I froze, hoping Brooke wouldn't notice, but she was already in the doorway, her face twisted with irritation. "We're not your servants," she yelled, her voice sharp enough to cut through the morning quiet. I stared, stunned, as she stood there, arms crossed, refusing to help. "Clean it up yourself," she snapped, turning away. The words hit like a punch, echoing the resentment I'd sensed building. My chest tightened with hurt, but anger surged hotter. I'd given Brooke a home, paid every bill, and now she couldn't even grab a towel. I couldn't hold back anymore. "You have 5 minutes to pack your things and leave," I said, my voice low but steady despite the pain pulsing in my leg. Brooke spun around, her eyes wide with shock. "What did you say?" she demanded, stepping closer. I repeated it louder this time, my anger drowning out the fear of being alone. "I've done everything for you, and this is how you treat me." The room felt electric, the air thick with years of unspoken tension. Brooke's face flushed red, and she started shouting, accusing me of holding the house over her head, of acting like I was better than her. I shot back, my voice shaking. "You've been living here for free, and you call me a burden." The argument escalated, words flying like knives. In the heat of it, I grabbed my phone to check a notification from my bank, something I hadn't done in weeks, too consumed by recovery. My heart stopped. There were transactions I didn't recognize, $5,000 to a luxury boutique, $2,000 for a new phone, another $3,000 on designer bags. "Did you take my money?" I demanded, holding up the phone. Brooke's face paled, her mouth opening, then closing. "I deserved it," she finally spat, her voice defiant. "You're always flaunting your success, making me feel small." I needed something for myself. I was speechless, the betrayal slicing deeper than her words. She'd stolen from me, used my accounts while I was bedbound, unable to check. I pointed to the door, my voice cold. "Get out now." Brooke didn't back down, throwing insults, blaming me for everything, our parents' death, her struggles, my expectations. But I was done. "You've got nothing left to say," I said, cutting her off. "Leave, or I call the police." Her eyes flashed with anger, but she grabbed a bag, shoved some clothes in it, and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The house fell silent, the echo of her departure ringing in my ears. I was alone, still trapped in bed, my leg aching, my heart shattered. Brooke was gone, but so was the illusion of the sister I thought I knew. I sat there, staring at the coffee-stained sheets, wondering how it had come to this. 1 week after Brooke left, Wendy and I started cleaning the house. I was still bedbound, but Wendy insisted on helping, moving boxes in the living room while I directed her from my wheelchair. We were sorting through old stuff, trying to make the space feel less heavy, when Wendy found a dusty USB drive tucked in a drawer. "What's this?" she asked, holding it up. Curious, we plugged it into my laptop, and a video popped up, a grainy recording of Mom and Dad, filmed years ago on our old camcorder. They sat on the couch, smiling, their voices warm. "Alicia," Brooke, Mom said, "we want you to love each other always. Be there for one another and make us proud." Dad nodded, adding, "You're both so strong. Build something beautiful together." The video ended, and silence filled the room. My throat tightened, tears stinging my eyes. I'd failed them, hadn't I? The sisterhood they'd hoped for was gone. The weight of their words pressed on me. I kept replaying the video in my head, hearing Mom's voice, seeing Dad's smile. Had I been too harsh, kicking Brooke out? Part of me wondered if I'd pushed her too far, if my anger had been cruel. But another part whispered that maybe this was what Brooke needed, a wake-up call to face her actions, to grow up. Maybe cutting her off was the only way to set us both free. Still, the guilt gnawed at me, twisting with the pain of Brooke's betrayal. I'd given her everything, a home, stability, and she'd stolen from me. Was I wrong to hope she'd change, or was this the final break we'd both needed? I didn't have answers, only questions that kept me up at night. Determined to understand the full scope of Brooke's actions, I dug deeper into my bank accounts. I'd only glimpsed the transactions during our fight, but now, with Wendy's help, I pulled up every statement. The numbers confirmed my worst fears. Brooke had transferred $10,000 to cover her credit card debt, racked up on luxury purchases, designer clothes, jewelry, even a spa weekend. I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. She hadn't just taken my money, she'd used it to live a life I was paying for while calling me a burden behind my back. Wendy squeezed my shoulder, her voice gentle but firm. "You didn't deserve this," she said. She made her choices. Her words helped, but the sting of betrayal lingered, sharper than the pain in my leg. That's when I knew I needed help to process it all. Wendy recommended a therapist, Dr. Daniel Carter, who specialized in family trauma. I booked a virtual session, nervous but desperate to untangle the mess of emotions: guilt for failing Mom and Dad, anger at Brooke, hurt from her theft. Dr. Carter listened as I poured out the story, his calm presence grounding me. "You're carrying a lot," he said, his voice steady. "It's okay to feel guilty, but you didn't break this bond alone. Brooke's actions have consequences." He suggested journaling to sort through my thoughts, to rebuild my sense of self. I left the session feeling lighter, not healed, but hopeful. Brooke was gone, and the truth was out. Now I had to figure out who I was without her shadow. I decided to take action right after uncovering the truth. Brooke's betrayal, stealing $10,000 from my account, couldn't go unanswered. I contacted my bank, my hands trembling as I explained the unauthorized transactions. The representative was thorough, pulling up records of the transfers to Brooke's credit card for luxury purchases. "We'll file a fraud report," she said, her voice professional but empathetic. This could impact her credit significantly. I hesitated, a flicker of guilt surfacing. Mom and Dad's faces from the video flashed in my mind, their plea for us to stay united. But Brooke had crossed a line. I nodded, giving the go-ahead. Days later, I learned the bank had frozen Brooke's accounts and flagged her credit, leaving her to face the consequences of her actions. She'd have to figure out how to survive on her own without my safety net. With Brooke gone, I couldn't manage alone, still confined to a wheelchair with my leg in a cast. Wendy connected me with Pamela Morgan, a home care nurse with a warm smile and steady hands. Pamela arrived the next week, helping me with daily tasks: bathing, dressing, getting to the bathroom, things Brooke had begrudged. "You're doing great," Pamela said one morning, adjusting my leg brace with care. Her kindness eased the sting of being dependent, but I knew I needed to push forward physically. My doctor referred me to Jason Reed, a physical therapist who specialized in post-fracture recovery. Jason's sessions were grueling, guiding me through exercises to rebuild strength in my leg. Small steps, he'd say, steadying me as I gripped the parallel bars, sweat beading on my forehead. Each session was a reminder of how far I had to go, but also how far I'd come. Wendy became my anchor through it all. She stopped by almost daily, helping me reorganize the house to make it more accessible, moving furniture, setting up a ramp, even sorting through old papers Brooke had left scattered. One evening, as we sat with takeout pizza, Wendy looked at me, her eyes serious. "You've been carrying Brooke for too long," she said. "It's time to focus on you, your health, your career, your peace." Her words hit hard, cutting through the fog of guilt and hurt. She was right. I'd spent years putting Brooke's needs above my own, thinking it was my duty as the older sister. Wendy pushed me to set new routines, morning stretches with Pamela, work-from-home schedules, even small moments like reading a book without worrying about Brooke's chaos. Slowly, I started feeling like myself again, not just a caretaker. The hardest truth came in quiet moments when I realized I couldn't save my relationship with Brooke. I'd tried for years, paying her bills, giving her a home, hoping she'd grow into the sister mom and Dad wanted her to be. But her actions, stealing, lying, blaming me, showed she wasn't ready to change. I thought about calling her, maybe offering one last chance, but Dr. Carter's words from our therapy sessions echoed, "You can't control her choices, only your boundaries." I pictured Brooke out there, struggling without my support, and part of me ached for her. But I'd given enough. Letting her go wasn't just about protecting myself, it was about accepting that some bonds, even family, can't be forced. I turned my focus inward, determined to rebuild my life one painful step at a time. 6 months later, I stood in the backyard of the house for the last time. The for sale sign was already up, the grass neatly trimmed for the open house. I decided to let go of the place that held so many memories, some warm, most painful. The house was too big for me alone, too heavy with the weight of Brooke's betrayal. I signed the papers with a realtor and bought a small apartment in downtown Madison, closer to my office, closer to a fresh start. The new place had high windows, a cozy balcony, and just enough space for me to rebuild my life without the echoes of the past. Moving day was bittersweet, but as I unpacked boxes in my new home, I felt a lightness I hadn't known in years. I hadn't spoken to Brooke since she stormed out, and I made the choice to keep it that way. No texts, no calls, no attempts to reconcile. I'd heard through a mutual friend that she was struggling, working extra shifts at her retail job to cover her debts after the bank flagged her credit. Part of me wanted to reach out to see if she'd changed, but I stopped myself. Dr. Carter's words stayed with me. "You can't force someone to respect you." Brooke had shown me who she was through her theft, her resentment, her refusal to take responsibility. Letting her go wasn't easy, but it was final. I blocked her number, deleted her from my social media, and closed the door on a relationship that had drained me for too long. Wendy and my other friends became my lifeline. Wendy helped me settle into the apartment, organizing furniture, and hosting a small housewarming with our college friends. Their laughter filled the space, a stark contrast to the tension that had defined my old home. I threw myself into my career, taking on new marketing projects with a focus I hadn't had in months. My leg was healing, thanks to Jason's physical therapy sessions, and I could walk short distances without pain. I started jogging again, slow laps around a park near my apartment, feeling my strength return. Wendy joined me sometimes, cheering me on as I pushed past my limits. "You're unstoppable now," she said one morning, her grin wide. Their support reminded me I wasn't alone, that family could be chosen, not just inherited. Looking back, I learned a hard but necessary lesson. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's survival. I'd spent years believing family meant carrying Brooke's weight, no matter how much it hurt me. But family isn't just blood. It's built on mutual respect, trust, and accountability. Brooke broke that trust, and I had to choose myself over a toxic bond. That choice wasn't about revenge or cruelty, it was about protecting my peace, my future. As I stood in my new apartment, watching the sunset from my balcony, I felt whole again. The scars were there, but they didn't define me. I was ready to move forward, grounded in the truth that I deserved a life built on my own terms.